Hello everyone. So I was just feeling really called to do a collective energy reading again around the topic of where are you holding yourself back? Where are you keeping yourself small? And yeah, I don't know, I've been really feeling these lately. We'll see if they take off at all, but I'm just gonna pull some cards from each deck, just kind of asking the collective of this channel that exact question. So I'm just gonna shuffle some cards here and get right into that. So just asking on guidance where we're keeping ourselves small. Where are we holding ourselves back? What are we working through? Okay. I want 4 cards. Okay, so for this we have Girl Talk, Cupid's Arrow, Coffin, and Not Enough. So time with friends, moving on, happily single, living in the moment, having fun, have faith, love is coming, surprise, invitation or meeting, hesitation, and endings bring new beginnings, growth, change, liberation, transition, and frustrated in relationships, lack of confidence, self-sabotage, fear, ego, issues, and jealousy. Wow, so interesting. These cards really did actually give me a lot of information, a little bit more than I was expecting from just these 4. So a lot of this here, Not Enough, is really talking about that. I really see this talking about not asking for more in our romantic relationships. Definitely specifically the romantic relationships. So it's even saying like feeling like you're not good enough, and then when you do find someone you do think is good, I'll put that in air quotes, that you think is good, there is like a degree of self-sabotage. So I feel like this is coming from that energy of self-doubt, giving into fear. So say if you feel like you had an argument, or you didn't agree or see eye to eye on this subject you were talking about, and it wasn't even an argument. I can see in some situations here, somebody and some people watching this will actually think that the relationship might end, and I can see them almost to try to gain control of the situation, do some self-sabotaging of that relationship. So maybe you'll do things that irritate them. Maybe you'll kind of just not be your truth, best authentic self. I also can see other habits like self-punishment, like, oh, why did I say that? And I can see you say eating foods that irritate you or make you feel not great. So sorry, when I say irritate, I mean irritates your body, maybe gives you some acid reflux, maybe makes you break out, maybe it causes you arthritis to flare up or something like that. Something going on. It's like feels self-sabotage, self-punishment, and it feels very tied to romantic relationship. So moving on and ending to bring new beginnings, those really stand out to me. So knowing that your value and what you're worth is so great that if you let this relationship go, a better one will come in, a better one can come in. Okay, sorry everyone, my camera just died, so it's just quickly swapping out the battery. So getting back to where I left off, and of course there wouldn't be a card reading here if there wasn't at least one cat in it. So where I left off is just really knowing your value and knowing that despite maybe what other people have said to you in your life, what someone might have made you feel at some point, you are so lovable and you are more than good enough. I feel like that's not even a word that I want to have to say the opposite of. You are more than worth waiting for, and you're more than worth having someone who can love you back and give you back the same level of love that you're putting out, and who also aligns with you. I think that's another thing. Some of you, it's not even that they're a bad person, they just don't align with you. They don't get you excited. They don't make you feel like you can dream and have the life that you're wanting. I feel like it's just dull. And it's not even due to anything that they're doing, you just aren't aligned anymore. So it's almost like trusting that there is better out there for you, that sometimes new beginnings bring in new things, new opportunities, new great things for you. I feel like that is really what I want to express. Like having faith, love is coming, surprise meeting, don't hesitate. Okay, sorry, don't chew on my plant. Thank you. Whew. Yeah, so huge theme here is around self-value and getting rid of this notion that other people might deserve it but you don't, or some silly thing like that, because that's so not true. So how are you keeping yourself small? This one's talking specifically about relationship and how you deserve to ask for more. You deserve to have more in relationship than what you're currently allowing yourself to have. And I am going to say what you're allowing yourself to have, because I can see how you at any point could leave a relationship that isn't aligned with you, that isn't giving you what you need or giving you the love back that you're putting in. Or that being said, you can also ask for this relationship to get elevated. You could say, do some vulnerable conversations to get you and your partner, your current love interest, on the same page. And sure, they could also, but if it's you having the problem or you not feeling like you're getting the amount you want out of that relationship, then it is sort of up to you to communicate that and take some sort of steps to see if that can change or if it's time to go. So yeah, it says frustrated in relationships. That's really the energy I'm getting. And fear, ego issues. And just that, like, I feel like if jealousy is something that some of you are struggling with, it's almost like realizing that you're so amazing that it doesn't matter if your partner has friends that are very attractive or that are really like amazing people, because you're so amazing too in your own way, and no one can replace you. No one can be just as you are, and no one has the same gifts as you do. Like, you're your own unique person. All your experiences, all your interests, all of those things you've gone through has made you into this really cool, awesome person and is unique to you. So you're not replaceable. Yes, people can date other people, but it will never be you. It will never be like dating you for better or for worse. So I really want you to see that the jealousy piece, I almost get that for this pile. If this is a loving relationship, there shouldn't be a fear of jealousy, because sorry, two things came up as I was speaking. They told me if you have been cheated on and you're not okay with a non-monogamous relationship, this is the call for you to realize that if they're not making the changes that you need, then you don't align with this person anymore, and it's okay to leave that relationship. If you're jealous but they have not cheated on you, then it's really calling on you to look at yourself and ask, why do you not think you're good enough for them? What do you think? Why is there a fear of losing them? Have they given you a reason to be fearful of losing them? And if they have, is this a loving relationship? Or is this like a conditional relationship? So there's just some real reflection questions for you as you're watching this, and know where you fit in and where you don't, and ask yourself some of these tough questions, but with the topic of being, how are you keeping yourself small, or where are you not allowing yourself to be the fully expansive self you want to be, then this is unfortunately some of the things we have to look at. And even myself, like, I find I always catch myself going, well, why is this happening to me, or why haven't I been able to figure this out? And then I have to come back to, where am I keeping myself limited? You know, there's so many different ways, there's so many different actions I can take. Where am I keeping myself limited or small, that I am stuck where I feel stuck? Why do I feel trapped? Or why do I feel like, as soon as I don't feel empowered, I know it's some story that I'm telling myself that could be true or could not be true, but usually we can get out of the stories we're in. So if I'm not getting myself out, that means there's another story I'm telling myself. So that's just kind of the rabbit hole I go down until I get to the clear root answer. And often I'll get that I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think I deserve something. But that comes back to, well, why don't I think I deserve it? Oh, because I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm lovable. So this is such a huge thing I see so many clients and so many other people struggle with, and friends, like you name it. I think this is like the human wounding, is thinking we're not good enough, we're not lovable, not worthy of something. Okay, I keep shuffling these cards, so why don't I actually pull a card from here about a little more information about where you're keeping yourself small and what you can do about it, because I'm a solutions person. I like to see the solution, just to know that there's other options on things. Okay, I don't think I actually want all these. I just want that one. Okay. Where else? Okay. I think I'll take 4 again if I can. All right, they want 5. We're gonna do 5. Okay, so base chakra, that is perfect. That's all about what we were taught. And this doesn't always mean that someone literally said to you, you have no value, you're never going to be good enough. And it also could mean that someone did. But it's always those subconscious learned lessons that I find stay with us the strongest, right? The one where we did something and we got hurt, and then we realized, how can we protect ourselves in the future? And I see it as like, that's what our body learned. Oh, we're not good enough. All these, like, say every time someone let you down or didn't show up for you, you just kept seeing it as, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, or they would have been here, or they would have made time. That's the kind of unconscious lessons I'm talking about. Maybe your parent always gave your sibling more attention. Maybe you didn't have a lot of friends, or you moved around a lot, and there's something going on for everyone who's chosen this, where some subconscious belief was formed as the reason why they weren't getting the love they needed. And this is just such a normal, natural human thing to do. And the unfortunate part is that your parents and the parents previous to this just didn't have a lot of information on how traumatic some of the things they do would be on their kids. They just sort of repeated what they were parented as, so they just switched roles with their parent and kind of played out that programming with you. They became the parent, whether that was an abusive relationship or a loving relationship in their eyes. And sometimes it's really just lacking awareness piece on that parent's part. And then sometimes they tried to do better than their parent, but there still was a lot of things that could have been more loving or a little more supportive. So I think a really big thing of the previous generations was a lack of communication, and just like not understanding as a kid why they were punishing you, why they were doing what they were doing. And often if they could have given us a very vulnerable and real clarification on why they were punishing us, on why they were doing what they're doing, or why they were feeling what they were feeling, that would have cleared up. But because we didn't get the clarification, then often we had to resort to our own logic and figure out, okay, well, what was the pattern in this and last time where I didn't get the love or the attention that I needed, or the support that I needed? And then we'll usually draw a conclusion somewhere around the fact that we're just not livable, we're not good enough. So I have to say, I've seen a lot of parents are getting better with this, and realizing vulnerability and honesty is good parenting, but it is hard, right? Because this is extreme accountability that takes, and extreme self-awareness, and we're all humans, we're gonna mess up time to time. But what I'm trying to really say is that it is gonna get better with each generation of parents, because we slowly deprogram this out of our social programming. So base chakra, that's what I was getting all that from, is really looking at the root, and it's really telling me that this was in the family group, that you were taught this, that you started to believe you were not good enough, you were not lovable, you weren't good just as you were. And you would probably go back and see some self-sabotaging patterns from your past when you were younger. Like, and then once again, it would look like you just realizing that something, you weren't going to get something that you needed or love that you needed, and then you would take an action that could be self-sabotaging to yourself but would make you feel in control. So that could be ending relationships, starting a fight, doing something that would irritate that person, and then getting punished. But if you thought you were going to get punished anyways, then you at least felt like you chose to get punished. You chose to have a consequence. It's kind of funny, but it's just what we reason to do to get in control or feel in control of an uncontrollable situation, especially when we're kids. We're not really in control most of the time. Sorry, it's just looking at these other cards. So I had also asked for advice on what you can do about this. So singing and dancing. I've seen this come up a lot. When I see singing and dancing, I do see it as a little bit of a two-parter thing. So one, it could be literally singing. If you didn't speak up a lot as a kid, if you couldn't speak up a lot as a kid, if you had to silence or swallow what you had to say, singing songs that really make your heart feel seen and heard. I think you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll just hear a song and it feels like it just knows you. Singing out loud, maybe it's in the car, maybe it's at home, maybe it's in the shower. Singing your heart out with that is a way of releasing some of that stuck emotion from before out of your body, and it's also a good way to kind of get your throat chakra back in balance because it's been in balance with not being able to speak up. Dancing, I also see this as you could be doing some sort of somatic work, breath work, really doing anything with the physical body. So it's like treating the physical body from the stuck emotions. So I think a good one is movement of some form. So dancing, if you just put some headphones in at home and just move your body how it wants to release something. So it might look strange. It wouldn't be necessarily like normal dance moves, but you might find yourself focusing on specifically like trying to release something out of your foot or your hips. Hips are where we store a lot of fear and kind of gross emotions. It's not a mature word, but it's usually where a lot of things get stuck in there. So it can be really good to shake your hips around. You know, if you're finding you're trying to do that, that makes a lot of sense because that's where a lot of things get stuck. Also, fear builds up within the hips. So it's really good to literally shake that out. And then as for the somatic work, I just keep seeing that come up in my card readings where somatic work will really help release old stuck emotions and reconnect you with your body currently. So it feels really powerful. Charlie, hey. You shouldn't scratch that, my friend. I know. Hey, look, there's a scratch thing right beside it. It's for you. That thing's for you. And the next, manifestation power. I see this as you taking your power back. And first, I think it starts with the awareness of where you're keeping yourself limited or where you're keeping yourself not at your full potential. So this one is harder to do in some ways because we have to be in a place where we can be really vulnerable with ourselves and really honest with ourselves and hold space and just really say, why am I doing this? Why I'm keeping myself small here? What is going on? Sorry, my boyfriend's just getting home, so if you hear him talking in a really high voice, it's because he's saying hi to all our cats. 3 floors down, but he gets very excited, so you can usually hear him. But anyways, so your spiritual gifts and natural abilities to track your desired outcome. So first step, I kind of see this as a multiple part process. So first step is recognizing where you might be unconsciously holding yourself back. So that'd be looking at the programs and the old stories. But then once you realize that, and once you feel it and you see it, it's incredible the empowerment you have, because then you're like, well, what can I do to stop myself from creating those blocks or those making myself small or limiting myself? And you'll usually be very clear once you've gone through the route. Like normally there'll just be an idea that you want to do, but it's a little uncomfortable. Like say if you're in a relationship where you're wanting more affection and it's having that conversation that's uncomfortable with the partner, it's after that you will know that that is what you need to do. Okay, sorry, getting lots of interruptions now. So anyways, This is all about being able to take back your power and really realize, what do you want? What do you want to work towards? What do you really want to bring in? What do you want to have this year? So it is kind of funny. I know it's still kind of close to the start of the year. So maybe you've already done some reflections on that. But when we really get honest with ourselves and ask, what do we want for ourselves? And then what I'm seeing here, it's all about really wanting loving, supportive, aligned relationships. And I think even balance could be a word that you throw in. Knowing that, maybe writing it down could really just put it out there and really make you realize what action steps that might involve to get there and have that. The Ascended Masters, powerful, loving, wise spiritual teachers are watching over you and guiding you. I love this. So I actually kind of see this, and I don't know for sure, but it makes me think of Green Tara, even though she's not quite green in this photo. But I really just see this calling to work with spiritual guides, spiritual teachers, that help you work through this. Because if you think a lot of, I can think Green Tara. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the Ascended Master's name. How is it gone? It's like on the tip of my head. It's on the tip of my brain, but I can't quite remember it. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, it'll come to me. I'm trust it will come to me. But a lot of them are all about compassion because they suffered in so many lifetimes so that they could help guide others through suffering or through limits or through blocks that they had. And because they struggled through it for so long, they can kind of help us get through it quick because they really understand us. So I can't help but wonder if this pile, or sorry, I shouldn't say pile, I'm getting used to doing pick a cards. If the people who are watching this, the collective that are watching this, if you're really being called to connect to Ascended Master that you trust, in your meditations, and just really trusting in what they have to say and trusting the intuitive messages you get or the answers you get, and if they feel right for you. Of course, you should always just, you can get advice from anyone, but you should always see if it fits and aligns with you in your highest good. And just to cement that, for any of you who started questioning if you could actually do that and be that intuitive or be that gifted, is some of the words I heard. The last card here says, you are profoundly clairvoyant. So whenever I see this card come out, to me it really says you are so capable of doing this. You're so gifted. Everyone is so gifted. It's just the difference between confidence and trust in yourself is what makes some people a better intuitive reader or trans channeler or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you're referring to in this sort of magical spiritual world, is it's really just your confidence and your belief in yourself that makes one person get a little bit more than the other. And also being a good questioner, a good detective, because the more questions you ask, the more answers you get, because they will answer them. But if you don't think to ask the question or get curious about the why, or how come is this way, or how can I do that, then they won't always necessarily think just to give you the information. You have to ask the questions. So being really curious and a good detective is sort of how I find you get to be a better and better reader, intuitive, psychic, whatever you want to put the label of it on. You'll do better at getting the answers and the guidance you want when you're good at thinking of the question to ask. And I just really trust in yourself, and try almost to play a game where you're like, what if I just trusted everything I got and I didn't question if it was real or not? That's the one thing you shouldn't question, is if your gifts are real, if your connection is real. Just trust that it is, and see where it goes. That's actually what I did at the start, is eventually one day I just said, okay, what if I just decide to trust and assume whatever message I get is the message I'm supposed to convey or I'm supposed to say. And that changed everything. I got more messages because there wasn't that block of, is this real? I might not even trust it. And let's be honest, what guides are going to communicate with someone who's just going to take their information and be like, I don't know if this is real. They gave me information, but I'm just not even going to believe it. I'm just going to worry about if I'm good enough to channel, or if I'm good enough to get messages, or if I'm gifted enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like we're not even allowing in the space for them to give us the message because we're just so stuck in our own world. So just for a game, try and say, what if I just trusted whatever comes through and believe it to be true? Okay. I want to pull from each one of these decks still. So any other guidance for the collective watching this right now? Any other messages of support for them or what they can focus on? Because the problems come pretty clear to me right in those first cards. So let's just look for more solutions and guidance. Okay, so we have the collective field is impacting you, unseen forces in action. How can you relinquish control of the situation that feels blocked? So that's really interesting. To me, that's telling me that you might be affected by collective energy. So you might be accidentally tapping into the emotions around you, the fear in the energy around you, the collective around you. So say if you're just going to a grocery store and there's a lot of people scared there or a lot of fear, you might be just kind of picking up on that accidentally and then not realizing it's not your own, it's sort of the collective's. A lot of heart energy here too. Oh, and then what's the other thing that they're telling me too is with this collective energy, specifically around your family is what they're saying. So if you see your family and they have a lot of fear, if they tend to gossip a lot or speak of a lot of worst case scenario, it's giving you some advice here on recognizing that that is not yours. You do not have to take that on, and almost just saying out loud or in your head. Of course, I understand you don't want to just say this out loud when you're in front of family members, but just saying, this is not mine. I don't take it on. I release it. I'm not taking this on. I release it. This is not mine. That's the most powerful word you can say. This is not mine. I'm not taking it on. So I personally find if someone's really freaking out, talking about worst case this, worst case that, having to fight for this, scarcity thinking, how I hold space for them but not take it on is as they're saying it, I can acknowledge that their human is scared, that something within them is scared. But then I say, but this does not mean that I have to be afraid and I do not take on what they're doing. I am not going to take on the fear that they're kind of putting out there. It's almost like I'm choosing not to tap into that frequency. So I do have to mentally have that conversation with myself. And the more often you do it, the more often you realize how often you can find yourself in a situation where someone is freaking out, someone is kind of venting, but in a way where the energy is just kind of going everywhere and you don't necessarily need to take that as your own. So this is what I was saying. Specifically, I see this more with family, and just to recognize that they might be going to old patterns and you don't have to follow them there. Your true tribe can't show up until you do. How can you show more of the real you? So this is kind of touching base again on that whole thing up here where the relationship theme about being vulnerable and knowing that if when you're vulnerable, that's when people can really see you and people can really get to know you, and you are good enough, and the right people who align with you will be able to align with you better, I should say, quicker, because you're gonna be your true authentic self, your true vulnerable self. You're putting it out there so that they can find you and see you. But right now I feel like you might even meet someone that you might really, really be similar to or get along with, but if you're really guarded and they're not, they might not even recognize that you're so similar or that you are a good fit or match. So it's so interesting. It's so drawn to the mountains here. Probably because I love the mountains and I live here now. But I just keep seeing this as like, I've noticed that people who live in this mountain town tends to be a little more, I don't know if I want to say spiritual. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but they all are in some way usually a little bit open to talking about energy or some form of it. So there's different degrees of openness here, but I just find because of the mountain energy, all the quartz crystals in them, and I know there's like malachite in the mountains around here. And another one I can't pronounce, chrysoph something. It's also like a pretty blue-green turquoise color. You can find that in some of the mountains as well. And I think like that must just attract in people who vibe with that energy too. So I don't know. I think there's just amazing people in mountain towns. So, anyways, to get back on track here, I just really see this too as like trusting that you equally can support and lean in on each other. And I like that their hearts are like not protected essentially. Like their hearts in this photo are just open and just, no protection there. Just being them, just giving it an honest go. So that's such a big thing. So I wonder if it's even calling for you if you're struggling with romantic relationships and being vulnerable. If first try with friendships, because those are usually easier than romantic ones. There's a little less triggering there, usually. Still can be some, but it's just usually not as deep as the romantic relationships for whatever reason. So I really feel like even just working on, say, sisterhood wounding or brotherhood wounding could be a great first step. And then once you've accomplished that, then maybe you'll be ready or a little more ready or more prepared to step into that romantic relationship with vulnerability. So here it says, this is not your practice life. It's time to decide what your inner voice is telling you about the dream in your heart. So this comes back to this whole decision. Know your worth and know that it's only you not winning right now. Like I want to try to find a better way to word that, but it's almost like the only one who has to endure your life is you. So do you want to endure it or do you want to love it? Do you want to be limitless? Do you want to grow and expand and sure have some scary moments of maybe being vulnerable for the first few times or being authentically you or being honest about your emotions even though it might let down someone else that you care about but just are no longer in balance with or alignment with. It's okay because this is your life and it's you who has to actually experience it and live it. So the question is, do you want to endure your life or do you want to live your life? And it's calling for you to decide on that and really not just be like, well, of course, I don't want to just endure my life, but really get and feel that like, yes, I want to feel joy. I want to experience love. There's so much about this being around the heart. So um, makes sense. January themes were all about the heart, and February is also about heart um, energy and what is happening. If you want to hear more about that, I did do a January, February energy for light workers that you can find. But yeah, not to go down that hole too much, but I just feel like even with the 22, I always see like 11, 22, 33s, 44s, 55s, all very angelic. So to me, this just cements like this is like light workers have had this archetype of having to suffer or to not live as fully so that was like their purpose, that was their service to live in scarcity. But this is an archetype that no longer is going to survive on this earth because there's no reason for people who are kind and lighthearted and of service to the highest good of all should suffer. So maybe in the past that was an archetype or a storyline that used to play out, but now it's reversing. Karma's speeding up. People who are doing things consciously for not the highest good of all are going to get the karma in this lifetime versus before it used to be in the next lifetime. Or it might even get so fast that they won't even be able to do those things and be successful at them because they think the consciousness rising is going to change that energy because people will not want to do things not in the highest good of all because their karma will be bad so soon. It's almost like learning with a food allergy. The more you usually eat something that irritates you, the faster the reaction will come up. And then eventually it's so in your face that you realize without denial that that food you are allergic to. That is a kind of an odd analogy, but that's very true for me. So I just see it similar to that. Like when at first it takes a couple of days, you could be in bit denial. When it takes a couple of hours, you can also be in denial. When as soon as you put it in your mouth, you're like, yep, that's the thing that my body doesn't like. That's how I see karma going to be for those who don't have good intentions for the highest good of all. It will no longer be a prolonged next life thing. It will be in this life. It will be immediately and eventually it will be so that they can't even do it to begin with. So that archetype is going, that storyline is going. So you get to choose. Do you want to stay in that old storyline or do you want to evolve and go into this new one where the light worker gets to have the abundance and the beautiful things they deserve as an energy exchange of the light they're bringing to this world? And then Next, we have here, you can make it through. Your higher self is always guiding you. What wisdom does your higher self have for you? Wow, this is such a powerful card. And really just even, I don't know if you can see super well in this lighting, but there's like star systems behind you. And I really see it's just saying like, you're trying to connect with these ascended masters. You're trying to connect with the star realms, but you yourself are of that wisdom too. And just going within and knowing how to connect with your higher self, your heart energy, you will get the same answers because all information out there exists already within you. You don't need to look outside of yourself for any answers. Once again, we got the beautiful mountains here. So I don't know, maybe mountains are a big theme for some of you watching this. To me, they're just so grounding. They're so magical. They're so connected to both the star realms and also the Mother Earth energy. So I find them so balanced when I see them. They're very balanced energy. Yeah, super, super cool. Lots of beautiful stuff coming from these two cards. Really a lot of expansion and growth, but in an abundant way. If that makes sense. Like for the better, for the good. Seeing where you've limited yourself, but then once you see it, you just step into abundance. Okay, we have one more round of cards to pull for you all. If you're still here with me. You know what? This is the love deck. What I want to almost change how I'm asking Spirit. How about what love should they focus on right now? What should the collective be focusing on for love? Because this whole reading has been all about being good enough, love, relationships, vulnerability, the love within friends, the love within romantic partners, love of self. What love should they be focusing on first? Okay, physical touch. A tender touch can mean so much. Take a chance on love. Act as if your partner is here. And turn on your heart light. Okay. You know what? I kind of want a fifth one. We'll follow my pattern of 4, 5, 4, 5. Love is all around you. Okay, I like this. So I'm already getting some information for you here. Okay, can you see them all? Beautiful, beautiful. That's what we like. Okay, so physical touch. This one's really interesting to me, and I really want to make it clear that it doesn't have to be with romantic relationships, but even just with friendships, like having a hug, you know, like just maybe linking arms when you're walking, something like that, like literally getting human physical touch. That's like, we physically have been proven to need it. And it's just in our design. But I do keep thinking that too, if you're in a relationship where you're not getting what you need in that romantic relationship, and maybe it is that you just need more physical touch. And what I even mean is, like, maybe you want them to hold your hand more, maybe you want them to put their arm around you or snuggle with you or just generally touch you more. That's okay to ask. That's okay to have. Don't be ashamed of that, and make sure you're asking for that, because it's coming up, because it's like a need here for the collective. And like I said, it's pretty human. Most people I know do have physical touch in their top 1 or 2 love languages. So it's super, super needed. And depending on culture and even like your family background, is maybe you just weren't, you know, maybe your partner just wasn't like acceptable to touch that much, and it's almost calling for you to really recognize how much you need it or how much it means to you in both friendships, family relationships, and romantic relationships. The take a chance on love. I love this card. The first thing that I keep seeing is all this kind of chaos over here, but I really see it as dream big. Dream big on what you want possible in your romantic relationships. And it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship now or if you're trying to call in someone who is more aligned with you. Don't limit it. Back to that whole, like, you are good enough vision, dream what you want your partner to want to do with you, what kind of life you want to have. And it's all really emotion based. Like, how do you want to feel in this relationship? Do you want to feel like there's so much adventure and growth? I feel like that is a really big thing, because this, to me, it just symbolizes adventure and uncertainty, but in the best of ways, and being in it, being on a like uncertain journey, but with someone you can really trust and someone who is really supportive. So when we love, our lives are changed forever. And it's almost even like enjoying the crazy adventure of that and finding someone. So once again, it is calling for you to ask for more in the relationship you have if you're not happy with it, or call in a really, really high relationship, a high aligned vibrational, whatever you want to call it, high soulmate relationship. And know that you can ask for as much as you want to call in. Act as if your partner is here. This is interesting. I actually see this for friendships or romantic relationships, where it's really calling on you to be in alignment with the type of friend you would want to have. Are you supportive? Are you trustworthy? Are you good at setting boundaries and appreciating time? And you know, it's almost like saying to me, like, if you don't want someone who expects you to drop everything and come and hang out with them any second, then also be able to expect someone to set boundaries on their time with you. It's so funny. I'm trying to find the best way to word this, but I almost wonder if in the past you've had a bit of codependent relationships, whether these are friendships or partnerships, where there can be bitterness or resentment because you would say drop everything to help them out, but they wouldn't do the same back. And I almost feel like it was because they like had a lot more boundaries on how much time or energy they are willing to give based on how much energy they currently have. But say if you didn't have boundaries on your own time and just wanted to support that relationship, then it would feel unequal to you. So I almost feel like there's calling in equal balanced relationships where you both can be honest about how much energy you have to give, about your values. And I don't know, I hope this is making sense. I feel like I'm starting just to ramble, but same thing with romantic partners. With being able to have boundaries on having some of your own independent time and independent activities, but also doing things together. So like it's not codependent. There is other support relationships outside of it, but there is also a great communication and foundation within the relationship as well. It feels balanced. And also it really calls on you just to really, step into the kind of person you want to be when you are in relationships. So it's almost like sometimes I see people will go into a different mode when they're single versus when they're in relationship, and it's almost finding harmony on who do you want to be just as an individual outside of if you're dating someone or not dating someone. Who do you want to be, and then be that person, and you'll attract in someone who's aligned with who you truly are. That might take some reflection. And then turn on your heart light. Reflect on a time when you experienced love. So this is really calling on the collective to be open to receiving that true vulnerable love. And a lot of us, like I was saying, it's come to light, have a guard up around our hearts, keep our heart light down. A lot of us have bad posture. We're always naturally in that like protective of our heart center stance. So it's really just calling on you to realize where you're not letting in love and try to bring awareness to that. It's always easier said than done, but I think you're getting the pattern here. Once you realize that you're doing something, it's a lot easier to like snap into the moment and be like, oh shoot, I'm being a little guarded right now and I don't want to be, or I don't mean to be. It's an old pattern. And then almost just like breathing through your heart and being like, it's safe, I'm okay. This is now, it's not where I used to be, it's okay. It's getting a lot of presence of awareness, but it's even saying to reflect on when you felt loved. And if you had a moment where you felt love, know how good it felt and how you want to feel that again. Hopefully you do want to feel that again. And the last one here is love is all around you. There is love everywhere all the time. Simply acknowledge this as truth. So this is beautiful. I actually come to realize that a lot of times when we get out of our own programming and our own head around what we perceive people to be thinking about us or how people feel about us, all coming from like this programming of not being good enough, we start to see how a lot of people are sending us love and doing loving actions for us all around us. Even people we don't even know, they're just doing things to be kind because they want to be of love and light to others. And I really see this kind of coming in as you kind of grow through this. You really start to feel and see love everywhere. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm wondering if there's anything else I should say. I think that's kind of it. Awesome if you made it this far. Thanks for staying till the end. Hopefully this got you some answers on an area or the area where you might be holding yourself back for safety or for old programming reasons that made you feel like you'd be safe but are kind of done with right now. I think it's such a big theme of the collective. So like I said, if you want to check out that energy update for February of 2024, I also talked a little about January and really talking about this heart energy and how it's for light workers, it's in our face right now, where we've blocked out love, where we've blocked out other people due to past wounding. And it's really just coming in so that we can choose to go into a different storyline. No longer is the light worker going to be the one suffering or not appreciated. It's changing now. If your intentions are of love and light, of the highest good of all involved, then you will have a great abundant life. And that's really awesome that we can see this changing in our lifetime. Super, super cool. Yeah, so anyways, I wish you the best. If this reading resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you could like or comment. It helps other people find this video. And if not, maybe I'll catch you around sometime. All right, everyone. This is just a little sound healing or sound bath at the end to help ground you, help you ground in the information you just received. So if you'd like to receive this, just close your eyes and stay tuned. It's only going to be about 2 or 3 minutes.